Coming up on today's Philadelphia Eagles now, could Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott be leaving Dallas? Also, as part of today's show, I'm going to explain as we take a look at some in-depth numbers why Saquon Barkley will pop off for the Birds here this upcoming season. First, here's a look at the most likes this week on every single show that we've done Monday and now through Friday. On Monday's show, we picked up 603 likes. Tuesday's show, 206 likes. Wednesday's show, 233. And yesterday, 525. So our goal today as the Bird Gang is to beat this number right here. And can we get past 603 likes on today's edition of Philadelphia Eagles Now? Because if you hate the Dallas Cowboys, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and as always, go Birds! So could Dak be leaving Dallas? Let's get you caught up on what's happening around the Cowboys quarterback here. He's entering the final season of a 4-year, $160 million contract. There has been little movement toward getting a new deal done as he's on that expiring deal. And this week, he told Todd Archer, Cowboys insider, that both sides are working on trying to get a deal done, but it was a pretty uninteresting update on him trying to land a new bag. Here's what Todd Archer had to say on X. Prescott said there have been conversations about a contract extension, but he is continuing to leave that work to his agent, Todd France. Dak Prescott also in the news because he was in a walking boot, but he said it was really just out of precaution. There's nothing really going down with that previously surgically repaired ankle because the boot was on that leg. If a deal does get done between the Cowboys and Prescott, Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network saying it's not crazy that Dallas could pay Dak about $60 million per year in average annual value. Furthermore, this is what Rappaport had to say about Dak and the contract situation with the Cowboys currently. It is on the Dallas Cowboys right now if they're going to do this, Rappaport said. If they're going to avoid Dak Prescott going into the final year of his deal, like Mike McCarthy is, it is time for them to start talking and try to get a new contract done. Because the same situation that currently exists with the quarterback, it's the same situation with Mike McCarthy, who going into 2024 could be a lame duck head coach. And here's the thing. They haven't gotten a deal done up to this point. And if you're Dallas, you're looking at Dak. He's been a highly productive quarterback as far as numbers. You've won a lot of games. Consistently, you're in the playoff picture, and you're winning double-digit games almost every single year that Dak is healthy. So in that way, you've been a successful football organization. But there is a huge drop-off between the regular season success that Dak Prescott has led the Cowboys on and postseason success. It's concerning if you're thinking about giving him a long-term deal with some of that injury history, and he's 2-5 in his playoff career, and the Cowboys right now have not made it to an NFC championship game in 3 decades. So Jerry Jones is starting to feel this pressure, and that's why I've said this offseason, it kind of seems like Dallas is secretly rebuilding. They haven't paid Dak. They are bringing back Mike McCarthy, who could be that coach who is on the hot seat and is a lame duck head coach, right? They haven't given CeeDee Lamb that contract extension. They haven't done the same with Micah Parsons, and they've really made no moves to improve their football team in NFL free agency. And with Dak's future with the Dallas Cowboys, another reason why we're talking about this today is because what Dan Graziano, NFL insider, had to say in his ESPN story was very interesting. He said it's not an overreaction if Dak leaves the Dallas Cowboys next offseason. Here's what Graziano had to say on the Prescott front. A lot to take away from this. I still think the most likely outcome here is that Prescott and the Cowboys find a way to get a deal done before he becomes a free agent. Heck, they could even get one done before the start of the season for all we know. But if they don't finalize something before or during the season, I think it would be a massive mistake to rule out the possibility that Prescott could be playing elsewhere in 2025. And as we look ahead to 2025, obviously all of this impacts Philadelphia. These two teams are cutthroat rivals. They play inside the NFC East, given the porous play of the Washington Commanders for so long and the ineptitude of the New York Giants. It's really been Dallas and Philadelphia fighting atop the NFC East. And for other teams across the NFL, they might have quarterback situations that they're trying to figure out right now, but you already know that next offseason, there will be quarterback-desperate teams who are looking to make an upgrade at that position, who will take a chance on Dak. They will pay him. They will want him because they're desperate to win. And what has Dak done, at least in the regular season? He's won a lot of games. He's a marketable player. He's very well known. And at the very least, he's going to help you be relevant because you're going to be able to be a winning football team because, to Dak Prescott's credit, that's what he's been able to do. He's not won the big game or big games at all, which is great for the Philadelphia Eagles, but the Cowboys have been a highly competitive team with Prescott as their quarterback. More from Graziano here. Prescott and the Cowboys have not been able to reach agreement on a contract extension. Dallas' star quarterback has 1 year left on his contract, which includes a no-trade clause and a rule that prevents the team from using the franchise or transition tags to keep him off the free agent market. That's really important to think about when you look ahead to next offseason as well. Prescott will carry a 2024 salary cap hit of just over $55 million, and if the Cowboys don't re-sign him before the start of the 2025 league year in March, he would cost them just over $40 million in dead cap charges for 2025. So could the Cowboys let him go and then eat some of that money? That would be wild. The team is in a tough spot, as Prescott's contract situation gives him all the leverage here, and he doesn't have to do a deal with the Cowboys unless it's exactly the deal that he wants. That's why the possibility of Prescott hitting the market as an unrestricted free agent quarterback and cashing in with the deal likely to exceed $60 million per year is not far-fetched. From the Eagles' point of view, or should I say from the bird's eye view, this is going to be really fun to watch, right? There's always drama around the Dallas Cowboys. They haven't made it to an NFC championship game in damn near 3 decades. And I don't think that Dak Prescott is good enough to win a Super Bowl. We have seen that the Cowboys, when they have a lot of good complementary pieces around Dak, they have a good offensive line, a good running game, and they're stacked at the wide receiver spot, that's when they're at their best. When they've been too Dak Prescott reliant, that's when they really struggle, especially in the postseason. So there's that part of this conversation, but also the other side is probably the reality and something that the Cowboys are thinking about. Yeah, they could let Dak Prescott go because they don't think that he can lift them to a Lombardi trophy, but then you run the risk of being in purgatory because if you don't have a good quarterback, you are screwed in the National Football League. With that, let's pop up today's poll question. Where will Dak play in 2025? C for the Cowboys, O for other. Let me know right now down below in the comment section. Let's now move forward to story number 2. Going into the 2024 season, fresh off that free agency deal that Saquon Barkley signed with the Philadelphia Eagles, I think that Saquon can pop off, dominate for the Birds here this upcoming season, and be this year's version of Christian McCaffrey, who last year won NFL Offensive Player of the Year, was top 5 in MVP voting, and surpassed more than 2,000 all-purpose yards. It's easy to see why Saquon Barkley decided to leave the New York Giants and sign with the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a very frustrating tenure with the Giants for Saquon. He gets drafted high out of Penn State by Dave Gettleman. He's looked at as the savior of the Giants organization. He gets off to an incredible start. He was and still is one of the most gifted running backs that we've seen in this generation of football. But after that incredible start, tears his ACL, suffers from some injuries, not as durable as what people had envisioned him being coming out of Penn State, going into the National Football League. The Giants as a team have had a huge lack of talent around Saquon, and they've lost a lot of football games. For Saquon, too, he's joining a team that has dominated the Giants over the last 10 years. Philadelphia is 16-4 over New York in the last decade. And now, for Saquon, the Whitehall High School and Penn State legend who grew up in the Lehigh Valley, returns home to Pennsylvania to play for the Birds, a team that he grew up watching, that a lot of his friends and family members, that's their favorite squad. Saquon also looks really good in the midnight green. He tweeted out a couple of eagle emojis with this photo and a couple of these photos right here. And I just think he's poised to have a breakout season because the numbers certainly back that up, and the talent gap between New York and Philadelphia is a large one. And going back to Saquon just being so gifted, you do not see a lot of running backs who look like this. You don't see a lot of people or professional athletes who were this built. So when he's right, he is a stellar superstar player. He is box office. And if he can stay healthy this year with the surrounding supporting cast that he now has to his advantage with Philadelphia, that's why I think that he can have a tremendous season. For the topic of this show, if he can stay healthy, I think he can win or at least compete for NFL Offensive Player of the Year and be the Eagles version of what Christian McCaffrey has been to the San Francisco 49ers. The Giants' offensive line, especially over the last couple of years, has been downright horrible. New York in run block win percentage via ESPN the last 2 years. In 2023, New York, 31st among 32 teams en route to that 6-11 record. In 2022, they ranked 26th. As for Philadelphia, we know this is an organization that prioritizes running the football. They have the best offensive line coach in the National Football League in Jeff Stoutland. And because of that, they've been a highly successful running offense. The Eagles ranked in 2023 first in run block win percentage per ESPN, and in 2022, when they made it to the Super Bowl, second. Giants offensive line, horrible part two. We're not done. The last 3 years, New York, according to Pro Football Focus, in a run block win percentage, 30th, 14th, middle of the pack, and then 21st. Philadelphia, on the other hand, third, and fifth. So the last time that Saquon Barkley was on a high-octane offense, and the last time he had an elite skill guy, was Odell Beckham Jr., and that was only for 1 year. And then OBJ started to get hurt. And then, as we know, he was traded away by the New York Giants. And now Saquon Barkley is looking around, and he even talked about this when he took the practice field for the first time. He's like, I got into the huddle, and I saw Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Saquon has never had this offensive line. He's never been in this situation with the talented offense, and he's never had this amount of talent around him. And I also think that having Jalen Hurts in the backfield and the running threat that Hurts possesses will make the job easier for Saquon Barkley. I am also excited to see how Kellen Moore utilizes Saquon. Saquon was criminally underused early in his career in the red zone. As a rookie, he barely got the football when Pat Shermer was calling the plays around the goal line in the red area. It's ridiculous. It should never happen, right? And then also throughout his entire Giants tenure, I don't think that he was utilized enough as the weapon that he is. And I've always kind of looked at Christian McCaffrey as a weapon, not just as a running back. I look at Saquon in the same mold because Saquon can run the football out of the shotgun, under center, outside, and between the tackles. He can catch the ball out of the backfield on wheel routes, on screen passes, a la going back to the Brian Westbrook days. He can catch a shovel pass. He can run a wheel route. Eagles were already calling those plays for him in the spring. He can line up out of the slot, and he can beat with this really good footwork, not as good as Christian McCaffrey, but really good footwork, slower nickel corners, and linebackers. You got to be able to put your playmakers in a position to succeed and maximize their abilities. And I think that's what Philadelphia can do with Saquon Barkley here. And while the defense has to focus in and hone in on an A.J. Brown, a Devontae Smith, a Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley is going to have ample opportunities here. And even if defenses try to take Saquon away, what does that do for everybody else? They will now have open looks to try to exploit and take advantage of the defensive tendencies. A Saquon Barkley fantasy update for everybody, though. While I think that he can put up really big numbers, what's going to be interesting with Jason Kelce retiring is how Philadelphia utilizes the brotherly shove tush-push play, and if they run it as much with Cam Jurgens at center, with Jason Kelce now retiring. Because Eagles running backs last year in 2023 had no carries from the 1-yard line. And the brotherly shove had a 92.5% success rate. So there could be a lack of touchdowns for Saquon. And by the way, other teams in the NFL, they were about 10% less on that success rate as compared to Philadelphia. That's why you don't penalize teams for doing things well. One more note here, and this is about the injury concerns and Saquon Barkley being injury prone. It's talked about a little bit more than what the reality actually is. When you look at Saquon's career, he played 16 games year 1, 13 games year 2, 2 games in year 3, then 13, 16, 14. So Saquon has played 13 plus games in 5 of 6 seasons. So he has not been as injured as what people think. And again, on this team, I just think he's going to have more opportunities, and I imagine he is salivating at the thought of running behind this Eagles offensive line. If you're pumped that Saquon Barkley is on the birds, I want you to type SB down in the comment section. Don't forget to give me a follow on social media. I put out a lot of short-form content there at Chase_Senior, approaching 13,000 followers here, 31,000 followers on IG. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. With training camp coming, then preseason, regular season, we're really going to start to ramp up our coverage. Still giving you shows every single day because you got to be built different here on these YouTube streets. But you can expect even more content from us right here on Eagles Now.